So this is a thing on Twitter. I mean X. I keep making that mistake. She-Hulk fans are mad because of how well Deadpool and Wolverine are is doing, and it didn't occur to me until like recently when it was revealed that She-Hulk had a cameo scheduled for the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, a cameo that was removed at the behest of Ryan Reynolds. And that set off a series of angry rants by the small minority of She Hulk fans who are mad about that because they feel that the She Hulk series didn't get a fair shake because it was not renewed for a second season. And they point to things like the Deadpool dance in the beginning of the Deadpool Wolverine movie and compare that to the abominable twerking scene in the She Hulk series, and use that as an example of the quote unquote double standards of how one is well received and the other is not. What they failed to mention these She Hulk stands is that She Hulk is based off the Dan Slott run, among others. Some of the less popular She Hulk runs, and if the series of comics that it was based off of, if those series of comics were popular as they say they were, then there should have been no problem with fans supporting the series. But there wasn't enough fans supporting it. See, comics is a male-dominated, male-oriented medium. So if you're gonna create product, whether it's a comic book or series or a movie based on the comic, that denigrates men or denotes masculinity, you're gonna get the expected response, which is men are just not going to support your show, and as a result, your shows are going to fail. Men aren't going to support your movies, and as a result, your movies are going to fail. And we can always point to the one scene in the She-Hulk series where she tells Bruce Banner, mind you, Bruce Banner had tanks aimed and shot at him. Bruce Banner saw his friends die. Bruce Banner can never have a family because of his genetic mutation that prevents kids. It prevents him from having families, and therefore, as a result, he can never be with a woman. So the woman he loves is forever separated from him. He saw half the universe evaporated. So he went through all kinds of trauma, and then in the one attempt that he had to kill himself, he couldn't do it because the Hulk in him prevented him from doing that. So Banner is a very traumatized character. But no, we're gonna sidestep all that. We're gonna invalidate all that because this bitch here got catcalled. Yes, Banner. Who cares that you had an entire army aiming their latest artillery at you? You weren't catcalled. Who cares if you saw your friends die? You weren't catcalled. You saw the universe evaporate? Too bad. You weren't catcalled. So curb your anger because this bitch is loud and vociferous, and we have to pay heed to her victimhood. They don't understand these She-Hulk stands that this is the very reason their show failed because it denigrates men. It's another anti-masculine propaganda piece put out by Disney denigrating their demographic. This is why their show failed. And it's great to see people pushing back on that and reminding these stands of how ridiculous Jennifer's character in She-Hulk was. And just another gender studies propaganda piece meant to denigrate the very men that make comics successful. See, comics, again, it's a male-dominated space, so the women that enter the space know this, at least the ones that care know this, so they enjoy it and enjoy its masculine appeal. Now, the ones that go into the space to try to denigrate that are the ones destroying the field, and they're the reasons why comic shops are closing and why sales are bad. And why you get direct like the She-Hulk series that doesn't do well and the limited stands that cry about it. And I think the people that are upset about the show not getting a second chance don't understand it. They don't understand why men don't like the show and why they've walked away from the show. And yes, there are women that walked away from the show too. Again, the women that understand that comics is a male-dominated space and how this show just invalidates the experience of someone like Bruce Banner dealing with the kind of traumas that a lot of men can understand. But they really don't get why men don't give it a chance, why people have walked away from it, and why the show failed. And I had my own run-ins with some of these stands on Twitter. They want to throw out how the Dan Slott, the same Dan Slott who hates people that vote for Donald Trump. So Dan Slott is an extreme left-wing bigot. But these are the same people that push for those comics. Those comics that if they did as well as they claim they did, then again there would be enough fans to support the show. But there weren't, because the comics didn't do as good as they want to say they did. Well received by a few people, sure, but not as memorable as the John Burns She-Hulk run. The She-Hulk that people actually like, the target audience that liked it. But Deadpool and Wolverine is a very masculine movie, even when it references all the gay humor. It's there for us to laugh at. Men can laugh at that stuff. It's a celebration of masculinity. The heroes are two white men, who defeated a villainess, a female villain. We used to call them villainesses, so I don't use the term female villain. I just call them villainess. She was a powerful villainess, and the combined efforts of Wolverine and Deadpool defeated her. There was no middle woman to do what they did. Why I say that is because if you remember the Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness movie, where Doctor Strange couldn't even defeat the villain because he wasn't allowed to. The MCU using the Disney propaganda, DEI, ESG garbage of we can't let white men look good. So they had the Puerto Rican lesbian America Chavez be the one to, although she didn't actually defeat Scarlet Witch, but she was the one that did what needed to be done to have Scarlet Witch defeat herself. She defeated herself in the movie. Doctor Strange couldn't even be the hero in his own fucking movie. He couldn't do that. He wasn't allowed to. And a lot of people were pissed off about it. But Deadpool and Wolverine, the heroes were allowed to defeat the female villainess. And it's like, all right, yeah, we can actually be a hero in our own movie. That's great. Or heroes in our own film. There was no politically correct left-leaning bullshit propaganda BS in the Deadpool. And it wasn't a perfect movie. I'm not saying it was. I'm sure that you can probably find a couple of things that make you groan and so forth. But for the most part, it did what it was supposed to do. It entertained its male demographic, and that's why it's close to hit. Well, it's not close to it. It hit $1 billion worldwide. People are talking about it. Yeah, it made a lot because it was entertaining and it wasn't insulting to its demographic audience. But the She-Hulk series was insulting. And one of the lame arguments that the stands threw at me on Twitter was, well, you can't tell if the series is good anyway, so how, and referring to like the ratings. Like the ratings are different for a series versus the money that a movie makes in the theater. I'm like, well, The Mandalorian was critically received by both critics and its target audience, men. The story of a man who adopts a son and is treating him as such and walks through life with a son figure, that resonates with men, and that's why the show did so great in the first couple seasons, and it should have ended at season 2. But no, they made it season 3, and from what a lot of people said, season 3 was not good, not shockingly, and I don't think it got renewed for season 4 as a result. But when a show does good and the merch is there, it's going to get renewed. It will get renewed. Daredevil, I know it wasn't under the MCU. Well, it was, but it wasn't under the Disney model. But it did well for two seasons. Well, 3 actually. 3 seasons plus the Defenders series. So there was a barometer for shows doing well and then getting renewed after acclaim. So She-Hulk would have definitely gotten a season 2 if it had enough acclaim and enough fans watching it, but it didn't because it was a terrible show, and it was based off a terrible version of the character that most comic fans didn't care for, and it reflects on that. And on top of that, it made it very clear that it was very anti-masculine, and it invalidated masculine sentiments. So as a result, the show failed. But Deadpool and Wolverine did not invalidate masculine. It reaffirmed it. It rewarded it. Much like manga. So the reason why manga is so popular is because it affirms masculine tendencies. It rewards men. Same with anime. Anime rewards men. That's why it does so well. And I know it's got some weirdness attached to it, but still, it rewards men, and as a result of that, it's got its male demographic to financially sustain it. Deadpool versus Wolverine affirms and rewards the masculine tendencies, and as a result, it's sustaining itself financially. And you look at the Marvels with the crossover of Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, and that movie barely broke 200 million globally because you took characters that were more or less anti-masculine in a very anti-masculine movie, and you're going to lose your demographic. You're going to lose the male audience that would have paid to see the movie, but you told them, no, we don't need you. So guess what? You didn't need their money either. But Deadpool and Wolverine reaffirmed that target audience. That's why She-Hulk failed. And that's why movies like the Marvels failed. People want to be entertained. They want to laugh. They want to be invested in a movie. And no, Deadpool and Wolverine isn't going to be a subject of many theses in terms of its deep symbolism. But it doesn't have to be. It's a comic book film aimed at men, from a medium aimed at men. And look, it made over $1 billion worldwide. No shock there. So maybe people just have to just, get real. And if you're interested in making money and not responding to your globalist masters, maybe, just maybe, just stop making less She-Hulk and make more movies like Deadpool and Wolverine. Or go back to what made the MCU successful. More Iron Man. Well, not Iron Man, but more movies like Iron Man and movies like the Captain America movies. Not like the later Thor movies. The Thor movies they got progressively worse. Same with Iron Man movies got progressively worse too. I mean, I know that the Iron Man 3 made $1 billion, but it made $1 billion off the heels of the first Avengers movie. But the story was shit. But still, Iron Man 1 and the Captain America trilogy, the Avengers movies, like those were solid movies. And they were very masculine. Even when they had like female characters doing girl boss type shit, it wasn't so in your face or obnoxious. It was still within the boundaries of we're still appealing to the male audience. We want to respect our male audience. That's why those movies did well. And Deadpool and Wolverine is following in those footsteps and respecting its male audience. But TV shows like She-Hulk or movies like the Marvels don't respect their male audience. That's why they failed. So does Disney want to continue the push for its anti-male propaganda, or are they going to want to start making money? That remains to be seen. What do you guys think? Let me hear it in the comments section. I want to hear your thoughts about this, and I look forward to reading what you got to say. Thanks a lot. Take care. And Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake is going to be on for my comic in a second chance campaign this fall. I will be doing a second chance campaign for Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake as I near the completion of the book. So I look forward to, bringing you along in the Road Warrior Drake family. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you then. Take care.